So far, I've showed you how to put a number of articles into Joomla, and we've had no trouble copying and pasting from Notepad and pasting things into Joomla. One of the things that I'd like to do in the video following this one is I'd like to put a YouTube video inside of my Joomla article. But one of the common problems that happens when you try to embed something like a YouTube article or a Twitter feed or a Facebook feed or any one of these other type of badges and widgets that come from other websites is that Joomla tends to strip out the code that you paste in. This is a feature, not a bug. And so what do I mean by this? Well, there are a number of HTML tags and attributes that you may not necessarily want people putting into your Joomla website. They can potentially cause security issues or problems, or people might put them in as a way to try to hack into your website. So what Joomla does by default is it tries to screen out as many of these tags and issues as possible. Then on top of that, on top of Joomla screening out tags and things, the editor that you're using inside of Joomla, which in this case is TinyMCE, also strips out a set of tags and attributes in some cases to make sure that your code is clean and secure. So I wanted to go through where those settings were so that we can tweak those settings such that we can then go through and put a YouTube video in the next video. So where I'm going to go to take a look at this configuration is under the global configuration. So here on your control panel, you can just click the link here on the left side for global configuration. And we're going to switch to the text filters tab here on the end. Now, in Joomla, there are a number of different groups of people who are allowed to use the website. These are user groups, and users are assigned to each one of these user groups. By default, when you install Joomla for the first time, one user is created, and that is a super user. That's down here at the bottom of the list and under super users, and this is set as no filtering. In other words, Joomla is not filtering any of the HTML that you're putting into the system. It just takes whatever the super user puts in, and it will write it directly to the Joomla database and save it, for good or bad or indifferent. Now, if you've got super user access to the website, there's a whole lot of ways you can screw up your Joomla website being a super user. So setting this to no filtering works perfectly okay for me. There are some other lower level user groups that are present here that you may want to create users for. You may assign these user groups to your clients. This is part of Joomla's ACL system, access control lists. And each one of these groups has different permissions to do different things. For example, the administrator and the manager are allowed to log into the backend of Joomla, but the registered author, editor, and publisher user groups are not allowed to log into the backend of Joomla. They can only log into the front end. So you'll see here that we have different types of filtering that go on with these particular user groups. And your choices are a default blacklist, a custom blacklist, a whitelist, no HTML, or no filtering. So what you can do here is the default blacklist will allow you to put in any kind of HTML except for tags that are on the blacklist. The custom blacklist would let you put in any kind of HTML except for tags that you define. A whitelist means that only tags you specify are permitted. And of course, no HTML means you can't put any HTML in at all, just straight text. And no filtering means nothing is filtered at all. You're just allowed to put things straight into Joomla. By default, these are the types of filtering that you have here in Joomla. You'll see things like public and registered are not permitted to put any HTML in. And that makes sense because these user groups are just people who be logging into the website. They shouldn't be doing a whole lot of typing anyway. Whereas some of the other user groups like the authors, the editors, the publishers, the managers, all have a default blacklist that will strip tags out. And some of those tags are typically the iframe tag or the Java applet tag is another one that frequently gets stripped out because these can be potentially harmful to your computer and to your Joomla system. So this is one place to go if you find that you try to copy some code from Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, any one of those social media sites. You're trying to put it into Joomla somehow, and you're finding that that code gets stripped out. This is the first place to go. But as a super user, we have no filtering. So Joomla is not doing any filtering for us. It's not taking any of those HTML tags out or trying to make our code safer. So the second place to look, once you've taken a look at Joomla settings, is to take a look at your editor's setting. And our editor is TinyMCE, and that is under Extensions, Plugin Manager. And if you scroll on down here, you'll find the TinyMCE editor right here. And if you click on that and you go switch over to the basic options, we were in here a few videos ago where we switched this to extended functionality. One of the additional settings that we have here as you scroll on down is prohibited elements. So by default, TinyMCE is programmed not to allow the script tag. So the script tag is commonly used for dropping JavaScript into a web page, not to allow the applet tag, and not to allow the iframe tag. These prohibited elements apply to all user groups. So they apply from everywhere from super administrators right on down to the registered users. So if you have iframe listed in your prohibited elements here, you're not going to be able to put a YouTube video into one of your articles, for example, because it's prohibited here. It also happens to be one of the prohibited tags inside of the blacklist. So if you take it out here, you're going to permit those with no filtering in Joomla to have the ability to put an iframe tag into the site. But those who have the default blacklist applied to their user group, there really actually won't be any change because Joomla won't allow them to put in that iframe tag into Joomla. So what I'm going to do here right now is I'm going to edit this to take out the iframe tag. I'm just going to leave script and applet as my prohibited elements. And I'm going to say save and close. That will allow us now to put a YouTube video into an article, and I'll show you how to do that in the next video.